Right. So let me repeat that back. So basically, you're saying like the opportunity here is for retailers to automate their return process, just like they're automating their outbound process,
Correct.
right, at the
And
warehouse.
it can utilize the same system,
Hmm.
but that's why you kind of want to stagger it when it happens. So you're not trying to bring product in while product is going out.
Hmm.
You kind of stagger the two.
Yeah, and the second point is to work it into your flow cycles at the buildings,
Right.
right? So you mentioned grocery. Does the same? I'm curious. Does the same methodology apply across retail? Does that same philosophy apply? Excuse me, I don't know why I said a cry. Apply across like apparel as an example?
Oh, 100%. I
It
think
does, even more so
I,
potentially.
yeah, fashion
Okay.
I don't want to say it's one of the worst, but the biggest problem there is everything has to be checked manually. You have to go through
Mhm.
to make sure the shirt or pants or whatever is fine.
Right, they're not
Um,
soiled or something. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And if you don't get it
torn.
back into the flow, the season ends, and now all of a sudden I have all this product that's left here that's almost useless. So you either have to
Mhm.
sell it to, let's say, a TJ Maxx or something like that, or it gets destroyed.
Mhm.
So it's important that it gets back into that cycle as quickly as possible.
Yeah, so I want to ask a further question. So what do retailers do in that situation? Because I can remember when I was working at the Gap and even at Target, like some of our selling cycles are like 6 to 8 weeks long before
Yeah.
those products go to markdown. So the idea of even getting them back into the flow is almost not going to happen. So what
Hmm.
do you recommend as a supply chain solution or way to solve that problem?
Um, I, I think the only way is to put limitations on the on a customer, saying you have a
Okay.
week, two
Returns.
weeks to
Yeah.
return it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people are going to hold on to it and keep it until the last possible minute and then bring it back. And that's when, say, a Gap gets in trouble and they've
Yep.
got this. I don't want to say it's useless, but they can't turn around and sell it for the same amount that they did, in the prime time of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
hence too, and why we saw, just a few weeks ago, like announcements of people just saying don't return products anymore. Like
yeah.
that's a new thing that retailers are starting to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the numbers are just
Just keep
staggering,
them.
especially especially around the holiday seasons, like you said.
Hmm.
I remember talking to this company, Arrive Recommerce, that at a conference this year, saying like, when you have people order 8 dresses, like only one of those is getting put back into the rotation. The rest are being burned or they're being disposed of, which
Hmm.
also gets us into our next
It
topic, which is
does. It really does.
sustainability, because I know that this has become a much higher priority for a lot of the retailers listening. Um, how then are retailers thinking about this when it comes to supply chain? How are you helping them, especially when we hear things like Target doing denim returns and
Hmm.
swaps, and then Walmart's trying to eliminate food waste with certain technologies? Like, how is that impacting the like strategies that you're helping these retailers develop, as you kind of go in and do these floor walks with some of your clients?
Yeah, I think the first topic that we kind of need to discuss here in regards to sustainability is the human or social impact. So a lot of
Okay.
times all we talk about is the environmental, like the waste piece of it, but
Mm-hmm.
a lot of companies are starting to think a little bit more about how their employees are actually affected by their
Yeah.
operations. And so one design consideration that
Mm,
can really impact sustainability is safety and ergonomics. And a lot of companies are just, like we talked about earlier, adopting just automation in general for their warehouse. But what that also does is help with the safety within that distribution center. Because instead of
Mm-hmm.
a human or an individual going in and picking something and having to move something heavy, the system's doing it for them. And so it
Right.
becomes a safer, more ergonomic place for people to work. And like I was mentioning earlier, everyone's fighting over the same labor pool. And so if you can work to keep those employees happy, then you're not having to constantly hire new people and retrain them and the challenges that go with that. So I think that's one important thing to think about and part of just the overall design that companies are starting to think through. Um, and then obviously there's the environmental aspect.
Mm-hmm.
And the two things that really come to mind in the consumer world are um, the packaging and the transportation of goods. Those are probably the two biggest cost drivers that impact environment. Um, and I think one with packaging is just the waste of material. And I'm gonna set the stage here for a second and kind of pick on Amazon. And just disclaimer, I love Amazon. I probably order far too much from them, so nothing against them. But we've all gotten the big Amazon box with a small box in the center of it, and there's just all this wasted space.
Mhm.
And what that's really doing is obviously is wasting a ton of cardboard, but it's also wasting volume inside of a truck or a plane as they're trying to transport it across the country.
Right.
So if we can size those cartons correctly, then you're saving, on carbon emissions from the trucks, and you're saving the physical waste of
Right.
the cardboard. And so for us, one thing that we've worked to try to accomplish this is implementing custom packing solutions. And it will actually create custom boxes for a specific order that's sized specifically for that order.
Hmm.
So not only is it less waste, now you don't have this huge stockpile of empty boxes sitting in your warehouse. So
Yeah.
that's one thing that we've really tried to do to combat the environmental aspect.
Like, how are you as a business development person, how are you having those conversations with the clients that you bring on early on to really kind of help them understand that it's not only, an uh, more sustainable approach, better for your workers, but how are you helping them understand like the operational efficiencies and the economic benefits that come from this?
I think you always have to go back to ROI. Like
Yeah.
how is a business going to save money? How is it going to pay off in the long run? And that's, I think, the start of this conversation. And everyone wants to, improve the environment, improve the working situation, but you have to always realize that it's a business. They're trying to make money. And
Yes.
so if we can shape it and say, hey, after the course of 2 years, you're going to start seeing a return. That's when
Mhm.
these conversations become even more influential. Um, and I think that's where it really has to start. And
Yeah.
there's actual savings that can be seen from reducing the volume of a box, and now you can fit 20% more into a truck, let's say.
Yeah. Do you have any
Wow.
advice? I was just
Oh,
gonna
go
say,
ahead,
do you
Ann.
have
Yeah.
any advice for people listening?